Hi, this is John Schlitt, and you're listening to People Just Like Me talk faith and life with Joe Taylor on Faith's Edge.
What has always been surprising to me is that the God I believe in, the person with whom I have a personal relationship, is always patiently waiting for me when waiting for me to go through my little, spiral or my little fits of doubting and questioning.
Thank you, Mr. John Schlitt, for the introduction. John, in fact, has his own Christmas CD out called John Schlitt's Christmas Project that was released last year. Wait until you hear his rendition of Hallelujah Chorus. It is absolutely fantastic. You can hear my conversation with John at onfaithsedge.com/37. That's onfaithsedge.com/37. Well, hello, welcome to the 55th episode of On Faith's Edge. My name is Joe Taylor, recovering atheist and your servant in Jesus Christ. This is your place to hear conversations with entertainers, authors, artists, and business people about living a life of faith. On today's show, I speak with classically trained vocalist David Britton. We talk about his new Christmas CD, aptly named David Britton's Christmas. We talk about his faith in God and some of the high points and low points in living a life of faith as a missionary kid, as he grew up as a missionary kid. We'll hear a sample of the Wexford Carol from David's new CD, and we have just a great conversation with David that's coming up. Last episode, I spoke with singer-songwriter David Liscombe. As frontman for House of Peace, David co-wrote the theme song for the feature film The Identical, starring Ashley Judd, Ray Liotta, and Blake Rain, and he is the band's main songwriter. We talked about the time God absolutely wrecked his heart, as well as the House of Peace album, Into the Great Unknown. You can hear my conversation with David at onfaithsedge.com/54. That's onfaithsedge.com/54. I guess that's two Davids in a row. Last week, David Liscombe. This week, David Britton. So you can hear my conversation with David Liscombe at onfaithsedge.com/54. David Britton is a world-class baritone who began studying classical voice at Westmont College in Santa Barbara, California, where he discovered a love for opera and art song. He continued to refine his voice by studying at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music, where he earned his master's degree in vocal performance. As David should, he touts his appearance at Carnegie Hall in New York as one of the high points in his career. In his new Christmas album, he wraps his incredibly rich pop classical sound with a twist of anthemic rock into and around these timeless holiday classics. Hello, David. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you for having me.
We are here to talk about your brand new Christmas project called David Britton Christmas.
That's exactly right. It's a pretty unique and creative title, as you can see.
Let's keep it simple. David, it's funny. You just released a popular patriotic project in July called American Glory. And
that's right. Yeah.
And now this Christmas CD, can we expect an Easter project too?
Yeah, something like that. Yep. There's one on the horizon, as they say. There's a storm on the horizon called the storm.
No kidding.
Yeah, that should be coming out.
Oh, great.
That's right. Yeah.
I was actually kidding. I was actually joking. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I was going to think of something, David Britton sings Labor Day or something like that.
It'll be a storm, a project called The Storm.
Oh, outstanding. Yeah. We'll have to have you back on for that. We'll definitely have to have you back on for that. Seriously, it's too bad I wasn't able to get you on for American Glory. It's a really good project, man. It's just a fantastic sound. But let's talk about David Britton Christmas. Why a Christmas project?
I've done a lot of Christmas music over the years, first as a classical singer, and then it was always a busy time of year for me as a musician, as a singer, and had a lot of folks asking if any of this was available. And so we decided to make it available, and felt called to do a Christmas album and to try to put some fun stuff on it.
Nice.
So that was really the motivation for it. It's just the audience demand, I guess.
You do a lot of the traditionals and a few originals as well.
That's right. Yeah, a couple originals, and then a lot of the sort of the old classics, the old Holy Nights and such. But then a couple of the fireside classics as well, the things that people have grown up with, at least in this country, here in America, with some of the Bing Crosby style favorites, fireside favorites as we call them.
Your music has is traditionally spoken to the Christian market, and this seems to be focused as a crossover project.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. Yeah, we decided that a lot of the music here, particularly Christmas music, is appreciated by folks outside the church, inside the church, and so we wanted to put together a project that would fit into that. And Christmas is a great opportunity to be able to do that and to take what is the greatest story ever told, the Christmas story, the greatest miracle that ever occurred. And put it together in a package that might appeal to folks that are both inside the church, but also outside the church that may not regularly attend church, for example.
On David Britton Christmas, you collaborated with multi-Grammy and Dove Award nominated producer Billy Smiley, who's worked with Whiteheart, Stephen Curtis Chapman, BB and CeCe Winans. David, that's some pretty solid company right there. Right there.
Yeah.
What was it like working with Billy on this?
Billy is great. He's incredibly creative, and one of the challenges as you listen to the songs in the album is that I came from a kind of an odd background of eclectic styles. I was classically trained as an opera singer, but loved playing drums all through high school, and wanted to be able to do a project that blended those two different facts, right? The classical voice with a sort of a driving rock element or a very modern future sound on some of these things. And so Billy was a great collaborator for that. He kind of inspired a lot of what we did. We co-wrote the Whispers song and then arranged everything. The two of us kind of arranged everything on the album. So great guy to collaborate with. In fact, the Patriotic album was also with Billy, and then the next one coming out, same thing. We just have really hit it off in terms of blending. It's kind of a niche sound, unique sound that folks might be drawn to. Yeah.
Classically trained.
Yes, spent a lot of time singing, doing the formal classical vocal training, and actually sang professional opera for a while. That was what I did. Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah. What was your most significant moment in your musical career so far?
Well, I think that from an operatic and a classical perspective, being able to debut an opera at Carnegie Hall in New York was actually that was an astounding moment for me back in the day. Those, sort of one of those pinnacle moments. But I have to say that just being able to understand sort of what the voice is doing and then to layer it on top of sort of progressive rock and those things has also been just a fun approach that is now the sound that I'm offering to the market as of about a year and a half ago or so. We really come back and started to do this style.
I tell you what, this Christmas album has such a big feel. I literally felt engulfed by the music listening to it. Oh Holy Night is breathtaking. And the original piece, Whispers, it's, I guess I would call it hauntingly strong. It's just a powerful piece, man. And
I really appreciate that. Thanks, Joe.
You rock out on Angels, man. Angels We Have Heard on High.
Yeah.
That's a really good tune, man. I like that. What's your favorite piece from the album?
Oh, man. I have to say that I think Wexford Carol stands out as one of my favorites. And the reason is because the Wexford Carol is the oldest carol still sung in the modern sort of Christmas carol anthology. And it's something that is done often as a purely classical piece. It was written in the 12th century as a classical. You can imagine 12th century music is not terribly hip. But as I've sung it over the years classically, I thought, this thing, there was always something about it that lent itself to a nice kind of Celtic rock vibe. And so that's what Billy and I played with. We went in the studio and started to just do a groove and a sort of a rock, driving rock piece underneath it. And that's what has come out as this really cool, eclectic sound, and it's been really popular, particularly in live performance. People often are surprised by it, I think. So it's kind of nice. So that stands out as one of the favorites for me. Hard to pick a favorite, though, frankly.
Do you mind if we play Wexford Carol right now?
That'd be great.
At least just a piece of it. All right.
Good people all this Christmas time, consider well and bear in mind what our good God for us has done in sending His beloved Son. with Mary holy we should pray to God above this Christmas day in Bethlehem. Upon that morn there was a blessed Messiah born. Bethlehem did shepherds keep their flocks of lambs and feeding sheep.
Your voice and style has been likened to Josh Groban. How do you feel about that comparison?
Hey, listen, Josh Groban hasn't done too badly, so I'll take I'll take that comparison. No, I think it's a fair assessment because I think he appeals to that bit of that classical and pop sound. And I think if there is a difference, I tend to have a slightly deeper sound on the voice. I'm more of a true, a darker baritone perhaps. And the other thing is that I think we've pushed some of the rock boundaries a little bit more in getting some of the bigger guitar work and drum work than what you might hear on some of Josh's stuff. But hey, that is absolutely a comparison I will latch onto any day.
Yeah, it's no. It certainly is a compliment, to say the least. And your music does spans many different styles, from classical to rock anthem. Who were some of your influences?
I think there's a lot of them. As I said, for me in the popular music realm, it's guys like Coldplay and U2 and some of those big band folks. Not big band in terms of the style, but those sort of top chart pop bands like the rock bands. I also think on the classical side, guys like Pavarotti, who had just a clarion voice, had that trumpeting voice sound. It's a great baritone by the name of Thomas Hampson that has also done a great deal of music in the German art song genre. All of these very strange and eclectic styles brought together were all part of my heritage growing up and influenced a lot of what I've done, I think, in this style.
David paints a beautiful vision for his music. I'll quote him. "In a world that is full of so much turmoil and pain, it is my goal to use music to shed a glimmer of light, to bring comfort to those that grieve, peace to those at war, hope to those that fail, encouragement to those that feel alone, joy to those in despair." David, I know you said those words, but how do those words make you feel?
Humbled, I think, more than anything. One of the things that when I gave up singing opera, one of the reasons, I felt God called me away from that, asked me to step away and put away the music for a while to get my family in a stable place, took on a day job for a while. And in the last couple of years, felt him calling me back into music, but not to do opera. And I think part of the reason for that was that in opera, you're singing someone else's words. You're singing words that are interesting. They're great. They're very beautifully creative. But I've never had folks moved in an opera the way folks are moved when I get to sing the stuff I do now. So I feel that people are, with the lyrics and the things that I get to sing in this genre, this style, it's much more immediate and accessible to folks. And I find that folks that are going through tough times are somehow drawn to the music that I'm putting out. And I have to give all credit to God for doing that. Hopefully I'm just getting out of his way, frankly. That's my prayer and my hope, is that people will see past me to the one who created this beautiful art form called music, and hopefully use my voice to his glory.
You talked about your faith just a second ago, and your faith is a theme throughout all of your music and in your career. How did you come to believe in Jesus Christ?
Yeah, so I was born into somewhat interesting circumstances. My parents were Christian missionaries overseas, and I was born on a little island overseas on the mission field where they were serving, a little island called Bonaire in the South Caribbean. That on its own clearly doesn't make one a Christian, just being born into a Christian family, right? So
right.
For me, there was actually a very poignant moment when I was a child, probably 7 years old or so. A friend of ours, a fellow missionary of ours on the island, actually was killed in a motorcycle accident. And that gave me pause. because I wanted to understand more about what happened when someone died. And that's when my folks explained, the Bible to me, explained Christ's coming, Christ's plan of salvation. And that's when I became a Christian. That's when I gave my life to Christ. Now, of course, doesn't mean everything becomes rosy and peachy, as you well know, but that has sustained me throughout the course of every crazy endeavor that I've been put through in my life over the years,
Right. Since becoming a Christian, have you ever doubted your faith or even the existence of God?
Sure. I think that I don't know an honest, true believer that hasn't gone through some element of doubt and questioning. And I think it's healthy. I think we're called to question. I think we're called to challenge. And what has always been surprising to me is that the God I believe in, the person with whom I have a personal relationship, is always patiently waiting for me when I come back. Waiting for me to go through my little, spiral, or my little fits of doubting and questioning. And in the same way, my own kids question me all the time, right, and question what I'm doing. They eventually come back and they will come around and see that there's a plan, and it's the same thing with me and my God. Right? I believe that He is firmly in control of my every day, my every destiny. He's the author of my life, and that book is written. He's not surprised by what happens tomorrow. I just have to be willing to show up and be available for Him to do what He has planned.
Do you have a particular Bible verse or passage that's most significant to you?
Well, Jeremiah, right, 29:11. I know the plans I have for you, because I certainly don't know my own plans. That is one of the greatest verses for me, and it's one that just reaffirms where I am. The fact that someone else has a plan for me, and it's a plan to do me good and not to harm me. That's encouraging to me. When I'm at my lowest points, that's what lifts me up. That regardless if my plans crash and burn, which they do because they're human and they're fraught with frailty and bad choices oftentimes and other things, He's there with a plan that's a much bigger plan, and I can rest in that. It gives me peace.
Is there anything that we can pray for you for, David?
I think it's just a continuance, praying that God will continue to, not necessarily, I don't need Him to show me the entire journey, but just to make sure that I'm stepping in the right steps as I go, that I be open to what He has me do. As you know, life of an artist can be a challenge, and understanding where to go next and what to do next, and that kind of thing is a challenge sometimes. So I always ask for prayer in that regard. God will continue to use me.
You bet. Finally, as we wrap up, David, what would you say to somebody that is right on faith's edge, making that choice to believe or not to believe in God?
Yeah. I think we all believe in something. We all believe either in our own abilities. We believe in the chair we sit in every day. We believe that we'll wake up in the morning. The question becomes, what's the object of the faith that you're putting your belief into, right? What is the object, and do you really trust that? Should you really trust that? And for me, the only thing I know to trust is the Almighty God, the Almighty Creator. And so I challenge anybody that's right on that cusp, take that leap and discover what it means to have a life that is backed up by the Almighty, loving Creator of the universe. You can do a lot worse.
I don't think we can say anything more than that. We hear in the background, again, Wexford Carol from this very exciting new Christmas project, David Britton Christmas. And I'm really excited about this album, David. I really am. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
My pleasure, Joe. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a joy.
Merry Christmas, brother.
Thank you. You too.
David Britton's Christmas is available at Amazon.com, and his website is davidbrittonmusic.com. These links, as well as David's Facebook and Twitter links, can be found in today's show notes at onfaithsedge.com/55. That's onfaithsedge.com/55. Well, that'll wrap up today's show as we continue to listen to David Britton's The Wexford Carol in the background. Thank you to David Britton for being with us today, and thank you for listening. You mean a lot to me, and you mean a lot to the show. God is real. He loves you, and so do I. God bless.
Thank you for listening to On Faith's Edge. You can subscribe to the show via iTunes, Stitcher Internet Radio, or your favorite podcast app on Android, Apple, or Windows devices. To reach out to Joe or leave comments about the show, visit onfaithsedge.com. You're important to us, and we would love to hear from you.
Upon that morn, there was the blessed Messiah born. Within a manger he was laid, and by his side the Virgin maid, as long foretold. Upon that morn, there was a blessed Messiah born. There was a blessed Messiah born. There was a blessed Messiah born. Good people, all this Christmas time, consider well and bear in mind what our good God for us has done in sending His